Hello, everybody, and welcome to the BW channel. So today I'm coming to you talking about communication. And so before I get into the topic of communication, I just want y'all to check out my shirt that my sister-in-law bought me. And this shirt is near and dear to my heart. It says, change the game or remain the same. And then on the back it says game changer. And so why do I love this shirt so much? Because it sums up my ministry. My ministry is Better Woman, Better Wife. Our slogan is Be Better. And so when we be better and we work on becoming the best selves, our best selves that we can be, then guess what? We become game changers. And so I love this shirt. And I'm not only trying to be a game changer for me, I'm trying to be a game changer for other generations coming behind me. The Bible tells you that you can either curse or bless your family down to 3 and 4 generations. So when I work on trying to change the game, I'm trying to do it for my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, and my great-great-grandkids. Do you hear what I'm trying to say to you? So it's so important for me to become a game changer. It's so important for me to show up as my best self. It's so important to me to be the best me that I can be, the most genuine me that I can be. You know, I can't be nobody else but Felicia. But when I want the best Felicia to be represented at all times. And that's why this ministry is so important to me. I get the question often, why do you do that? Why do you have this ministry thing going on? We understand why you got the foundation. You want to get scholarships to nursing students because you are a nurse and nursing is your passion. And that's true. But why the ministry? Because for people who've been following the BW since it started in August of 2018, y'all know it's 2 parts. I have my foundation where I give $500 scholarships 3 times a year to nursing students. And then I have the BW ministry part. And that's where I try to minister to women. And my ministry is basically just uplifting and encouraging women to be the best self that they can be. But not also that, to create a circle of women where we all can network and we learn and we grow from each other. And so in doing that, it's my way of giving back. It was so many things that as I grew up as a woman, I had to learn a hard way, or it was mistakes I made that I don't want another sister to have to go through that. So if she can learn from my mistakes, oh man, then my ministry is worth it. Because anybody know me? No, I don't get paid for this. Now, some people do make a donation to my ministry, but oftentimes that's not the case. So I do it for free. And if anybody have ever tried to do videos or YouTube or any of this stuff, you know that not only does it cost money, it costs time. You know, you have to get up, you have to have your camera stand, you have to have your lighting right. And even before this whole corona pandemic, I opened up my home to women. And we used to have what I call table talks. You know, we started the virtual table talks now. But, you know, we have food, we have drinks. That costs. You know, and so, but for me, it doesn't matter if it's going to change the life for 2 or 3. I'm not trying to change the life of millions. If I can just change the life of 2 or 3, or if I can encourage another sister just to be her best self, then everything I do, I know that it's not in vain. And if I can just touch 2 or 3 people, I know my ministry is not for everybody. I'm ghetto, I'm hood, I'm a little bit professional. I am who I am, and I don't apologize for it. I do it unapologetically. But with that being said, it's another passion for me to just encourage and to uplift. I think that as women, when we work on becoming our best selves, not only do we change our homes, we change every environment that we touch, our workplaces, our churches, our communities. Just by showing up as our best selves. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. If I didn't, I wouldn't be getting out here posting and videoing. And people who know me, I don't like being in front of the camera with this whole video thing. That's out of my comfort zone. But I'm willing to get out of my comfort zone to encourage, to inspire, or to uplift another woman. That's what the BW is all about. And so with that being said, we're just going to get into today's topic, because then I'm going to get on a whole nother topic. So we're going to talk about communication. You know, and what prompted my topic on communication in the BW circle, if you're part of the BW circle, we're doing a challenge called the Taming the Tongue. And what we do in the circle, every month I come up with a challenge for the women to do. And the whole challenge, again, is designed to better ourselves, whether it's in communication, whether it's in our finances, whether it's in our health, whether it's in our marriage or relationships, whatever it is, it's designed to help us to be the best that we can be, okay? And so now we're doing the Taming the Tongue challenge. So as I was sitting at the table this morning thinking about the challenge and praying for strength, because our challenge this week is that we can't complain. And so I was just about to complain. And so I had to pray and bring it down a notch and think about what I was grateful for. And so I came up with an acronym for communication. And communication is 13 letters. So this is a 13-letter acronym. But the first 5 letters, what I did is wrote out how do you approach communication, or how do you communicate? That's the first 5 letters. The next 5 letters that I wrote out is what are the benefits of communication? And then the last 3 letters of communication is what do you do after you have had that conversation, after you have conversed? And so we're going to start off with the first one. So C. So the first thing in communication, the C stands for Christ-like. When you communicate, you need to be Christ-like in your communication. And what do I mean by that? If you listen to my podcast, and if you don't listen to my podcast, please subscribe to my podcast, BWBW Podcast. It's on Podbean, it's on iTunes, and it's on Google Play. BWBW Podcast. Okay. So if you listen to my podcast, I was just talking about 3 things that you need to ask yourself before you communicate. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? If you can answer yes to all 3 of those questions, then guess what? You are communicating Christ-like. Okay? So communicate Christ-like. What is the O? O means to be open-minded. So many times when we're having a conversation, we are closed-minded. We can't even receive what that person has to tell us because we're closed-minded. So you have to be open-minded when you converse with anybody. And when you are open-minded and you make yourself available to receive new knowledge, because you have to understand everything is just not one-sided. Or I heard many people saying, well, this is the way I was taught. This is the way I brought up. So this is the way it is. No, boo-boo. That's not the way it is. Be open-minded. Be open to learning new things. Be open to growing. Be open to expanding your horizon. It's not always one-sided. So you have to be open-minded. And also when you're being open-minded, when you're talking to somebody, be respectful. That's part of being open-minded. Be respectful and sympathize with that person. You may not always agree with that person, but the least you can do is sympathize with that person and have enough respect for that person when they're talking. Because you know how we can be. Somebody be talking, saying something, especially me. I have to work on my facial expression because you go to talking stupid and I go to looking at you like you stupid. So, but that's not being respectful. So control your face, okay? Be respectful, sympathize, even when you don't agree. And then another thing we do when we don't agree with somebody, we have a tendency to demean what they're saying. Don't do that to somebody. We either demean what they're saying or we'll demean the person themselves. That's not part of proper communication, so let's not do that. So always be open-minded. And so then the first M in communication is make clear, concise statements about how you feel. Okay, so I always like to you can use this communication acronym, whether you're talking about a marriage relationship, whether you're talking about a relationship with God, whether you're talking about a working relationship, no matter what kind of relationship you got, it requires communication. I would advise anybody before they communicate, have a conversation first, a vertical conversation with God before you start trying to have horizontal communication, okay? Vertical communication with God before you have horizontal communication with another person. But make clear, concise statements about how you feel. And why do I say that? Because if you start trying to attack somebody or tell somebody about something wrong that they did, they're going to automatically get defensive. But people can't defend how you feel. Okay, so let's say you're in a marriage and y'all having an argument and you telling your spouse, you did this, you, you. That's attacking that person, or that's demeaning that person. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to either put their defenses up or they just going to shut off communication with you. But if you change it and swap it up, because we changing the game. So if you change how you approach this situation and make clear, concise statements about how you feel and say, honey, when this happened, not what you did, when this happened, this is how it made me feel. Now, see, nobody can't tell you how to feel, what to feel, or deny your feelings. If you go to accusing them, they can deny what they did, but they can't deny how you feel. So, hey, when you did this, when you went out and you spent that $200, or when you went out, or when I looked in the account and noticed that the $200 was missing, this is how it made me feel. Don't even say when you went out and spent the $200. When I went to our account and noticed that the $200 was missing, this is how I felt when I saw that it was missing and nobody communicated to me about the $200. Okay? So clear, concise statements. And I also use as few words as possible in making clear, concise statements. Use few words as possible. That's something my husband gets on me about all the time. He like, Felicia, when you trying to say something or explain something, you go all around the world and all you have to do is really just cross the street to get your point across. But you done went around the world. So make it short if you're anything like me. So that's the first M. And then the second M is when you're trying to communicate, muzzle your mouth when the other person is talking. Be quiet. Shh. Hush. When somebody else is trying to talk. You can't have a conversation and they talking and you talking at the same time. Two people can't be talking at the same time. So again, it goes back to that respect. If somebody else is talking, muzzle your mouth and listen. Not only shut up, but listen to what that person is trying to say. You wouldn't believe how much you will learn just by listening to somebody. But a lot of time what we do when people are talking, we thinking, instead of listening, we thinking, what is our response going to be to what they said? Or what can I say next? Or how can I come back? You know, sometimes my comeback game is on point, but that's not the right thing to do. So we have to ask ourselves, approach communication in the fact that if I just listen, then I can learn my spouse better. Or I can learn about my friend better. Or I can learn about my boss better. Whatever the relationship is, it will help you. So muzzle your mouth and listen to what the other person is saying. And then the U in communication, in which is the fifth letter. And remember I said the first five is how you communicate. So the U is stand for understand. So seek to understand, which is what I was just talking about in the listening. Once you start listening, then seek to understand that person or what they're trying to say. Okay. Let me see what I wrote here. Y'all know I can't see. Let me put my glasses on for a minute. I can't even understand my own handwriting. But anyway, you have to try to seek to understand what the person is saying. And even the Bible tells us, with all of our getting, get understanding. Understanding can take you a long way in life. That's why the Bible tells you, with all that get understanding. Okay? And then, so those are the first five letters, COMMU. Okay, now we're going to go to the next five letters in communication. And these are the benefits of communication. So what benefits do I get when I communicate? So N stands for it nullifies assumptions. It nullifies assumptions. When you do not communicate with a person, then you open the door for them to assume. And when a person assumes, they can assume anything. Your mind can take you anywhere. And I mean, sometimes it takes us places that we don't even want it to take us. If you assume, but if you are able to communicate with that person, then they don't have to assume anything because you have opened the doors of communication. So make sure you don't let your spouse assume where you been, what you doing. Communicate. Oh, I'm at the racetrack with Johnny Joe. Or I'm here, I'm there, or whatever the case is. But don't leave them to assume, because then I will assume instead of you being with Johnny Joe, you with Sally Sue. So don't make me assume, communicate with me so then that I would know. So it nullifies assumptions, okay? And then another benefit is the I in communication. It increases, what does it increase? It increases trust, it increases peace. When you constantly and continually communicate with somebody, the more you communicate, the more they begin to trust you. The more you communicate, the more you have peace, okay? So remember the I. And then the C is for connection. Okay, what does it connect? First of all, it connects you to the person. When you're building any type of relationship, you have to have that dialogue going on. And the more the dialogue happens, the connection gets closer and closer to closer. Even that women, those of you who are dating, and you know, when you first come on the dating scene and you first meet this guy, you got your walls up, you got your barriers up, you're trying to figure him out. But the more he begins to talk to you, day after day, week after week, month after month, guess what? Those guards go down, those walls go down. He began to tear down those barriers. Why? Simply because he opened his mouth and communicated with you. So it draws the connection closer, but not only does it connect the two people who are communicating closer, it also connects the dots, or it connects the puzzle pieces that's probably missing. Because sometimes you may misunderstand something, but when you have communicate, it connects all the puzzle pieces and make it clear, or it connects the dots. So, oh, now I understand. Okay, what was really going on or what the situation is. Even if you're on a job, if you're trying to communicate, and if your boss communicates with you clearly what you're supposed to be doing, then it makes your job easier. But if you go and they like, do this, do this, do that, and you be like, what am I supposed to be doing again? Huh? So what it does is it connects those dots. So that C is, it brings about a connection. So that's the third benefit. Okay. And then A, it causes you to avoid arguments. Anybody who's been married over a year know that when communication is not going on in your home, it creates a lot of arguments. Me and my husband, we had to learn this the hard way. I can't tell you the millions of arguments that we had simply because there was no communication. And then when all of the mess go down, we be like, and then something to say be like, well, why didn't you just communicate that? Why didn't you just say that? It could have avoided this whole argument if you had just said that. So it avoids arguments. So that's another benefit of communication. And then the T, which is the fifth thing, the fifth benefit is, and I said this a little bit earlier, that it tears down those walls, those barriers, and that misunderstanding. It tears it down. It also transfers information to produce a greater understanding. So you can use the T for tears down or transfer, but you get a greater understanding, and you will turn down those walls and those barriers that have been created by people, especially when they really don't know you. And so those are the benefits of communication. So we talked about the first 5 things on how to communicate. The second 5 letters is the benefits. So then after you have had a conversation, what are the last 3 things you do? We're going to talk about it. The I, the O, and the N in communication. I is it may cause you have to initiate action if necessary. So I initiate action if necessary. Some conversations don't require you to initiate an action, but some do. So if you have a conversation, I'm just going to use an example. If I have a conversation with my husband and say, hey, you need to cut the grass, and this is the reason, because, you know, it's making us look bad, and the neighbors, you know, been talking about our grass and blah, blah, blah. So once I have a conversation with him, he needs to initiate an action and go cut the grass. Okay, that's the whole purpose of this conversation, because I need you to go cut the grass. Okay, so sometimes you have to initiate an action if it's necessary. And so O is ongoing reflection. So sometimes you can have a conversation with somebody, and sometimes it's so deep that you have to just sit back and reflect on the conversation. You have to replay that conversation back in your mind sometimes to really get it. And sometimes even if you do get it, sometimes you have to, that ongoing reflection, like, you know what, I had a conversation with my spouse. I already know, you know, how they feel about this because we had this conversation 6 months ago. So you reflect on that conversation. So no, he ain't gonna be happy if I make this decision. And so sometimes you just have to have that ongoing reflection. And then the N in communication is negotiate. Sometimes when you come to the table and you trying to resolve conflict, sometimes it requires you to negotiate. It causes you have to compromise sometime after you come to a conversation. Say, for instance, you having a conversation about money and y'all budget is only $500, but your spouse want to spend $1,000. You know, maybe y'all can negotiate or compromise. You know, our budget is $500. You want to spend it. Okay, let's go for $750. Can you find something for $750? Or if you're trying to communicate, you go on a job interview and they want to pay you $10 and you was looking to make $15. Maybe that person can negotiate and say, you know, we may negotiate a salary with you for $13, whatever it is. But sometimes Communication requires negotiation or compromise, and you have to be willing to do that. You have to know everything can always go your way or go the other person's way, and it just makes life much more easier for you when you are willing to compromise. Not compromise on everything. Don't compromise on your standards, on your morals, but if there's something that's not compromising your morals or your standards, then by all means compromise. And so that's all I have. I hope that you like the communication acronym that I created. I will be typing this up. I just jotted this on a piece of paper as God led me. I just wrote it down. And so I'm going to type it up and I'm going to put it in the blog post. So if you want to see this written out or typed out, it will be on b2w2.org. And once you get to the website, just click on blog and you will be able to see it typed out. If you like this video, then click like, click share, and subscribe. Have a good day. And as I always say, be blessed and be better.